Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. So today we're going to take a look at the latest generation for the Chevrolet Camaro. The model that you see behind me is the 2SS with the 1LE package, finished off in red hot. Huge shout out to Randy Marion Chevrolet for providing the sports car for me today. Check out their website, that link is down in the description. This also has an MSRP just over $53,000, and underneath the hood, this is powered by a naturally aspirated 6.2 liter V8 paired to the 10-speed automatic transmission. This pumps out 455 horsepower, 455 pound-feet of torque. That power sent to the rear wheels. It weighs in right around 3,600 pounds. It'll do 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds with a top speed of 165 miles an hour. And it has a fuel capacity of 19 gallons. You'll expect to see around 16 miles per gallon in the city and 24 out on the highway. This also has a wheelbase of 110.7 inches. Its overall length is 188.6. It has a width of 74.4 and a height of 53.1 inches. As we work our way to the exterior styling now for this 1LE, that package is right around $7,000, but it adds a lot of goodies to this Camaro. Starting off with the most obvious is the front lip. You can see just how massive this is. It provides it with a little bit more of an aggressive design. The Camaro in general has an aggressive front end to it. The hood is also finished off in black, along with having the functional heat extraction vents. And then for the rest of this Camaro, the upper grille is very narrow, and the LED headlights, DRLs, and turn signals are nicely incorporated into the grille. But what I love is that they have that sunken in design to them, so you can see the bodywork just underneath that. Chevy bow tie is right in the middle, along with all of the cutouts. And then there's even another DRL strip in the lower section, along with a lot more cutouts for the gloss black mesh in the lower section. And there's even functional air inlets on each side. So that will provide this with a lot more aerodynamics, a lot of cooling for the front end. It just has that classic Camaro design to it. Now, as we work our way to the side, this has a beautiful set of 20-inch wheels with the 5 split-spoke design to them and the 6-piston Brembo brake calipers just behind them. I love on this model, they are body colored. Makes this look that much more sporty. Now, this has gloss black for the side mirrors. It even has a sunroof too, which you don't see a whole lot of on some coupes. Great lines running down the side, especially in the lower section of that door. There's the Camaro badge just behind that front tire. And it has a good side design to it. And then last up for the rear is the trunk mounted spoiler, finished off in gloss black. This has a backup camera with the 3D design for these LED taillights. There's also parking sensors for the rear, and then this also has the quad tip dual exhaust, along with more gloss black in the lower section of that diffuser. So with the exterior wrapped up, let's actually go ahead and remote start this Camaro. So in order to do that, you can lock the vehicle, and then by holding on this button, we can bring this to life. And then you can also hold on that button if you would like to shut it off. From there, we can unlock it. Now, there is a button to release the trunk on the key fob, or you can use the button that's up underneath by the backup camera. It's very convenient to have that, especially for a sports car like this. And there's also an ample amount of space. I do have some items in here just to show you how much room there is. Now, one thing with the Camaro is the opening is a little bit tight, but then once you get everything in, you actually have a good amount of space. The back seats do fold down as well, so you can get a little bit more room for any items you'd like to place in the back. So for a two-door vehicle, it's actually pretty spacious for any items that you'd like to place in. So you can make this a good daily driver. Let's work our way to the interior now. You can use this button to lock and unlock the car. And then for the door panel, it's completely finished off in leather with all of the stitching. This even has the interior ambient lighting. So it's in this brush trim piece surrounding the grab handle. There's all the window controls, side mirror adjustments, even the memory seating adjustments too. This has the Bose audio. You can even release the trunk, which is very helpful to have. Camaro is also down on the door sill. And then looking at these two-tone seats, they're finished off in leather with the micro suede. These are the Recaro seats, which are a part of that 1LE package. Definitely a nice design to them. They are automatic seats. But let's work our way to the back seats now. All I need to do is pull on that tab. I can move that backrest forwards. From there, you do have to move the seat. And at 5'10", I can work my way into these back seats. Now, you're not buying the Camaro for a full 4-seater vehicle. As you can tell on the passenger side, pretty much have no legroom with the seat set where it is right now. So your front seat passengers would have to sacrifice a little bit to make you a little bit more comfortable in the back. Now, there is a wireless charging pad right in the middle, and then you have some armrests there. Not the best visibility with that pillar right there, but you do have windows on each side. It's honestly really not that hard to see. And as you can tell at 5'10", not the most comfortable either. I could ride around town if I needed to be in a car, I needed to have a seat. I could make it work for, 5-10 minutes, something like that. With the armrest here, it is comfortable. Not really for full-size adults, but if you needed to use them, it's also good for better interior space too. So you have them nonetheless with a storage pocket behind that passenger seat. And then from there, I can work my way out. It is a little bit tricky, but from there, I can put that seat back, and then you do have to move it back the rest of the way. Now this is a low sports car. You have to step up and over that door sill, but it's really easy to get into. Now for the steering wheel, it's completely covered in alcantara with more of the stitching. There's the SS badge on the bottom. Let's fire this Camaro back up. With my foot on the brake, that square button is over on the right side, and we can fire this up. And looking at this gauge cluster, the tach is on the left, speedometer is on the right, and then right in the middle on the upper section of that LCD screen is some fixed information like fuel gauge, you have battery along with some other vitals, and underneath that you can go through a lot more info. Using these buttons on the right side of the steering wheel, you'll notice Bluetooth and voice commands too. So if I scroll down, now we can pull up some trip information. There's also more trip information along with fuel range and economy. You can look at some other vitals like oil life along with the TPMS, even pull up a lap timer, the speed limit sign as well. There's a calm page, so if you don't want to have any info, you can quickly have that. And if I scroll to the left, you can go over to the info, which is what I was just on. You can also go into the performance, so you can monitor all this information, basically more vitals for the engine and all of the electronics, so you can quickly monitor all of that. As you can tell right now, the vehicle is still cold, so of course that's nice and helpful to have if you want to do some spirited driving. You can look at the electronic limited slip differential, which is a part of that 1LE package. And then if we go back, you can also pull up the audio, go to the navigation, so you can pull up the compass and go through some of that info. And if I go back, there's also phone and then options. So you can go through all of this, including launch control. You have some units that you can set to. So it's very nice to have all that information. And then over on this left side is all the cruise control settings along with the heated steering wheel. And then there's also the collision alert that you can turn on and off just by pushing on that dial. Now being the automatic, this does have the steering wheel mounted paddle shifters, which are finished off in black. And then hopefully you can tell right now a little bit of that bluish purple for the interior lighting. It is pretty cool to have that. On this left side also is the heads-up display adjustments. So currently it's showing the miles per hour. You may or may not be able to see that. If I go to info, I can pull up the radio, look at the compass, even pull up the entire tach. So if I give the vehicle some gas, hopefully you can see that on camera, and then we're back to miles per hour. So it's nice to set that up just depending on what you'd like to see. And I also love the style of the gauge cluster surrounding the gauges. It has a cool design to it. And then right in the middle, we have the touchscreen system with a lot more to go through. So currently you can see all these icons like phone and navigation. If I push on that, you can see that pop up in full screen. Now there's a physical button for home. There's also one on the screen too. This has Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. You can swipe over to go to the climates, that ambient lighting. You also have some different apps to go into. And then for this home screen, it's the split style for your music, phone, and navigation, which is nice to see. There's also shortcuts just underneath that, so you can quickly get to your climates to be able to turn those on and off and go through all of that information. And then underneath that, there's power and volume for the radio, along with tuning and a back button. And then there's a nice row of toggles just underneath that. Starting on this left side, this is for the heated and cooled seats. So you have those options for driver and passenger, which is nice to see. Now power for the AC is right in the middle. You have where you'd like the air to go. You can sync these. And then there's also the temperature adjustments for your driver and your passenger. You actually spin the fan surround there to adjust the temperature. Pretty cool to see that. And then of course you can open and close them with that dial right in the middle. There's a few other recirc and fan speed buttons right in the middle, along with the hazards. And then looking at this shifter, it's wrapped in more of the alcantara. When I pull the release and put this into reverse, you will see the backup camera up here with the guidelines, which you can turn on and off. And then going back into drive and popping it over allows you to shift using that, or these paddle shifters, which is pretty cool. This also has brushed aluminum for the top with Camaro. And then behind that, there's the traction control along with the different modes. So this has a touring mode, a sport mode, track, and then snow and ice. So if you're brave enough to take this rear wheel drive Camaro out in the snow or ice, you can pop it into that setting and hopefully that can help you. This has an electronic parking brake along with a 12 volt. There are 2 cup holders, and then for the center armrest, which is finished off in leather, you have a little bit of space. There's an auxiliary on the back side there. You can place your phone or other smaller items. And then the glove box has all of that extra room. So it's nice the amount of interior storage this two-door vehicle has. More leather on that airbag cover. And like I mentioned earlier, this has a sunroof. So the sunshade is manual adjusting, of course. And then for the sunroof, all of those buttons are up in the middle, along with the dome lights. There's some call buttons. And then for the rear view mirror, there's actually a camera located on the back of the shark fin, which turns into a camera. So it's very nice to have that extra visibility. Pretty much takes all of your blind spots away, especially with how bulky those pillars are in the back. Pretty cool technology to see. As we set off now behind the wheel for this Camaro, it's always fun to get behind the wheel of a Camaro. I'm not a huge Camaro person, but I can appreciate this muscle car, and I think it's a good option when you compare it to the Mustang and the Challenger. Those are pretty much the 3 American muscle car options that you can go with. They're all great in their own ways. They have pros and cons to all of them, but I do like the Camaro probably the most, simply because I don't see them as much as the Mustang or even the Challenger. It's a little bit more rare, I think, and I like cars like that. So I like the Camaro. I think it has a really good design, and with everything that is available on this car too. But let's pop it over to the manual setting now, put it into sport mode, and listen to that V8. Now I do wish we were in the manual. I'll link a video down below, pretty much the exact car I'm in right now, but with a manual transmission. And for this automatic, we'll give it a slight acceleration. Nothing too crazy for a new vehicle, but I know that these cars can be very quick, and the V8 is the car enthusiast engine option to go with because it gives you that deep exhaust note. And in the car world, that is the iconic American muscle with that V8 engine. Now I will say the paddles are pretty responsive for this automatic. As soon as you hit the paddle, you're into that next gear. So if you're not a three pedal type of person, the automatic is going to be fun. It's also faster than the manual, but there's also benefits to driving a manual and, you know, going through the shifts yourself. So positive and negatives to each of those. Personally, I would go with the manual, but if you're drag racing this, which Camaros, you know, are known for, I guess, in a sense, this is a perfect drag car to have the automatic. Now, as far as turning around, I don't think the Camaro has the best turning radius. It's a pretty tight steering, which is good. If you're taking this around some turns and stuff, you have that good direct steering that you want, especially from a sports car like this. And I love the steering wheel, and Alcantara has a good design to it, good feel. Oh, we're back into drive. Here we go. Just a small acceleration from fourth. It definitely has a good sound to it. But now that we're out on the road, so I put a few miles on this as well as several miles on other Camaros, it's a nice car to drive. This is a great daily driver. If you want a sports car, you want that performance, and maybe this is your only car, you kind of want to do everything, it's very practical to drive every day with the amount of interior space. The fact that you can have 4 people in here makes it that much more practical and usable, which is nice to have. And then when you want to, you can put it into a launch control, take it to the drag strip, whatever you want, and you have a performance-oriented vehicle pretty much straight from the factory. And of course, you can go with other Camaro models that are going to be a little bit more performance-oriented, but if this isn't your budget, it's a really nice design. I love all the tech. We have red for the interior lighting now. I must have changed it earlier. But it's very comfortable, it's quiet. The suspension is absorbing all these bumps very well. This has the magnetic ride, which is a part of that 1LE package. So you're getting a lot of goodies for the $7,000 for that package, but it gives you a lot more performance, especially for this 2SS model. And hopefully you can tell the windshield is a little bit narrow. This car has a narrow presence to it. From the inside, everything is kind of hunkered down in a sense. But like I mentioned earlier with visibility, it's so easy to see all around. We've had a lot of comments on previous Camaro videos saying, you know, how horrible the visibility is. And honestly, like I said, I own an Audi R8, which is worse than this, and it's still not that bad. When you drive a vehicle every single day, you get used to where might be blind spots and things like that. So don't let that deter you from buying one. You know, go check one out. But if it's a car you really want, you get used to where you need to look when. So that is really not really all that bad in my opinion. And so we'll get back out on the main road, give it another acceleration so you can hear what this V8 sounds like. I love all those pops and a little bit of gurgles in that exhaust, which is nice for the V8. Mild acceleration, and we are up to speed. I love all the leather down below too. It just has a nice design to it. There's some plastic in some spots, but for the most part, it's a good quality interior for what you're getting. So I think it's a good option, and I might have said this earlier, but I'm honestly thinking about getting a Camaro at some point. Even though I said I'm not the biggest Camaro fan, I think this would be a fun car to at least test out, get some ownership experience on it, and just see what it is like to own. Because it is a popular vehicle, just like the Mustang and the Challenger. And it'd be really cool just to get that ownership experience. I would go with the 6-speed manual though. But it would be very fun to mod a car like this and just see what it's capable of. Smoking some tires and all of that. But I think that's gonna wrap it up for this walk around review and test drive behind the wheel of the latest generation Chevrolet Camaro. Once again, huge shout out to Randy Marion Chevrolet for providing this muscle car for me today. Check out their website, give this video a huge thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and smash that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our daily uploads. I will see you all in the next video.